Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Vallen, and this is Astral Sorcery. Today I'm going to be covering the chapter Radiance. The current final chapter of Astral Sorcery, Radiance, is where a lot of power by your character, avatar, person, you, is gained. And it is all through your new crafting altar. In other words, your iridescent altar and its new gemmed setup, which, as I showed before, it's just an invisible gem up there. It is part of the altar setup. If you notice here, there is a completely huge crafting grid. It is an entirely extra, one extra block radius around the entirety of it at this point. And there's a slot up here for celestial crystals, or non-celestial crystals, as long as they are attuned. So for instance, if I take an attuned rock crystal for Armara, place this up in here, you'll see it then places the attunement around the altar, which it's daytime right now, so it's difficult to see. There we go, and when it's nighttime, you can see that it is much brighter. And with that, you can also put in a celestial one as well, and it'll give you the same effect. Basically, it is just ensuring that whatever it is that you're going to be using this for, it will get the proper attunement that you need. And in this case, it's going to be mantles, which we're going to cover second. First and foremost, we're going to cover a Containment Chalice, which is an excellent item, and how to use this iridescent altar in order to make one. Because if you look at this crafting recipe, you're probably like, what in the what? Wait, what? What is going on here? There are like rotating thingies. The crafting grid already got bigger. What is going on? That's because you're just doing crafting. You're not doing crafting in the table itself anymore. You're doing crafting on the table and its surrounding area. So I hate to do the comparison to another magic mod, but a lot of people are familiar with Helmcraft and how you had pedestals around the outside edges. This is a similar mechanic, but it is going to tell you as it's crafting what those items are and when they are needed. Specifically, you can have this list here so that you can understand what it is ahead of time, and therefore allowing you to obtain these materials beforehand. In this case, you're going to need a couple resonating gems, a few other mundane materials like gold and sooty marble, plus some star metal ingots. We'll craft one of these containers. They're extremely useful and very economic as far as their uses. Allow me to demonstrate once I've created one. Now, first, you should know that before you start crafting, you probably want to have some spectral relays at hand. You're going to want to have at least as many as you have rotating, items around the altar. In this case, there are 5. You can put them anywhere pretty much around on the sooty marble around this crafting table. And in this case, I'm actually going to line it up so that they're all at one side, making it easy for me to see them and get to them in the future so that I don't need to worry about it as much. Then you take your resonating wand if you have adequate star light, as well as the recipe showing on the side here. You notice I am not needing an attunement at this point. That is for the mantle crafting. But if I take my resonating wand, right click on the altar, it should then start the process of kind of building the item in question. And you'll notice that the first spot here is lit up and it is asking for an aquamarine. Well, what am I to argue? I'll put one down here, and it will continue on with the recipe, and it will start having a little shaft of light coming down to it, and then it says it needs another one. And it will continue doing this until there are 5. And once the last one is placed, it then takes a little bit of time in itself in order to make the item in question, and then it should actually have it pop up on the altar as before. And you have one of these already done, a Containment Chalice. And you can see I already have a couple over here on the sides in the background. Now, I am going to demonstrate these just not in this area by my base. I'm actually going to demonstrate it down in a little bit different of an area so that it's a little bit, safer for me to work with. Not to say that these are dangerous, but they can create items from that which they can hold. So allow me to first demonstrate. I place one down here, and remember I am in creative and I can just duplicate things in my inventory very easily. So if I take a bucket of starlight and I right click on here, you'll see that if I look at this properly with, I currently have the one probe in the top left there showing me I have 1 bucket of liquid starlight. Now this will actually Now this will actually hold 24 buckets worth. Just make sure that you're not like shift right clicking to put it into there, because then you'll like dump the bucket out like I did a moment there. But if you just right click, you'll see it'll start getting bigger with the more that it will contain until it holds a maximum of 24. As you can see here, 24. And it will just kind of flow around there. And it has multiple uses. In itself, it is, just a wonderful way of storing all your starlight. In another method, you can use it to craft. And by crafting, I mean, well, let me place another one down over here and I'll put a little bit of water in place. And you may start noticing a bit of an interaction between the two if they're close enough. And in this case, they're a little bit far apart, but let me start filling that up with a bit more water. You'll notice that it's shooting little particles over every now and then. Well, that's because these will actually interact with each other when they're very close. If I put this very close to it, it will actually start doing so much better. But, oh, there we go. Actually, it's done it already. So you can see it is creating ice blocks. And that is normally what happens between water and starlight, or liquid starlight in this case. And it will just continue doing so over time until they're exhausted. Now, this currently says 20 buckets of water. And this currently says, 24 buckets of liquid starlight. Eventually, it may start using up the liquids inside in very small amounts instead of using up entire buckets. So this is a very, very economical way of making specific things. Now, allow me to demonstrate a little further. And in fact, I'm going to put things a little bit closer. Let me get myself a lava bucket in this case. Now, if I put a bunch of lava in here, and these are interacting close by to each other, as you can see, it can hold up to 24 buckets, same as before, but you'll notice it is creating sand. Now, there are other interactions with this. Currently, those are the only ones with starlight and lava, and starlight and water, kind of. There may be some other offshoots that you'll notice over time, so don't be afraid to experiment with these. But if I put down another one of these, let's take this out of the way, click here, put a third one in place with water, you'll start noticing that there are a lot of different, interactions at this point. You'll notice that we're getting sand from the lava and starlight. We're also getting cobblestone and smooth stone from the interaction of water and lava. Plus, there's a possibility of, some other extra bonuses that you might get off of this. So I highly recommend that you use this to kind of produce the materials you're looking for. But before you end up picking these up, you're going to want to make sure to empty them out with buckets because, well, they won't store the items if you try and use a pick to pick them up. Now, if you want to get liquids in or out of these using technology mods or some kind of ductwork or piping, then it will interact on the bottom side of the block. Also, there we go, another special extra there. You may notice that the light wells, they also can be interacted with in the same way, by piping in through the bottom of those blocks or out of them, and therefore you can pipe out of the light wells into these to store yourself a whole bunch of liquids. So there you go. Those are really, really fantastic. And allow me to just break these so that they stop spamming stuff into the world, and I will show you another very interesting item, or rather just another piece of information. Putting a containment chalice over here filled with starlight, liquid starlight in this case, and you will need to have a minimum of what you would for the amount around here, which is going to be 12. You've got 3 on each side, and there are 4 sides, and in here I have 24 at the moment. So if I were to take something like, let's say, a sword, a crystal sword that is not infused, and I put this on here so that it will get infused, and then I use my wand to right click, you would think that, well, typically this uses up all the starlight around the outside edges. Well, look, none of it was used. And if I look over here, only 19.2 buckets are left out of the 24. What this means is that you have a very high potential for making yourself infused items at a much reduced cost. But just make sure that you have at least the 12 buckets minimum in your containment chalice, or else you might have some difficulties and it will then try to take from the surrounding area here instead of the chalice itself. But you can have more chalices around if you so desire. You can put them all along the sides and so on. As long as they're within this structure, you should be okay. And next we have on our list here the Mantle of the Stars. As you see, it's down here, and this will make full use of your iridescent altar in the fact that, well, you can use any kind of crystal, rock crystal, attuned rock crystal, celestial crystal, attuned celestial crystal. It doesn't make a difference. As long as it is some sort of rock or celestial crystal, it should do. A leather tunic will be fine. You don't need to have it enchanted, and if it is, it won't make a difference. It's not going to keep the enchantment on there. You will need a few extra items, but not to worry. This is just going to be a Mantle of the Stars. This here is going to make your default blank Mantle of the Stars, which is going to be very close to a diamond chestplate. Allow me to start this up, and I will take my extra ingredients over here onto the side, which is going to be just a little bit of some extra stuff like a feather and ender pearl and whatnot. And once I'm done with this, then I will be right back. And there we have it, a Mantle of the Stars, which is great. It gives a +7 armor, +2 armor toughness. It's very good on its own. So what do we do with it at that point? Well, you need to attune it. And in this case, I'm choosing Armara for the first one because that's what I used. But not like you would up here. I mean, this attunement altar isn't going to work. You're going to need a new and interesting way of attuning things, and in this case it's going to need to be highly focused on that. And that's where this comes in. An attuned celestial crystal to the constellation that you are wanting. In this case I'm choosing Armara. I have my Mantle of Stars, and if I open my journal, I look in the constellations and I choose Armara, go all the way to the right, and I will see a new recipe. So there is another one yet to go. There we go, and in this case, I'm going to need a little bit of extra iron, glowstone, leather, and clay in order for this to work, in order to attune it to Armara. So let me get that started, and I'll be back in a moment. And there you have it, our new and improved Mantle of the Stars, attuned to Armara, and I highly recommend you do not enchant this before you attune it. The reason being is that, well, it just doesn't really work so good with that. It will just wipe off any enchantments when you re-attune it. So if you do need to wipe off an enchantment, you could attune it to something else and then attune it back, but that's going to be use of some materials that you may otherwise not have wanted to waste. And with that being said, it should be noted that the Mantle of the Stars is extremely highly enchantable. So you should be able to get some very high max level enchants on it, if not from your refraction table, just from using your regular enchanting table and library options that are vanilla. Now, what does each one do? If I type in Mantle of the Stars in my JEI here, you'll see that there are a lot of them. Not just those for the main constellations anymore. You now have a whole lot to choose from. And I'm going to show you samples of some of them, not entirely all of them. For instance, I know that Visio here will give you Elytra Flight, but in the current version I'm playing in, it is bugged and it is expected to work in the next version. So therefore, that is one thing of note here. And so first, I'm going to show you that which I have already made, and that is the Armara Mantle of the Stars. What does it do? Well, it's best seen from this perspective here. You'll notice I have these little kind of like light blue globes kind of whirling around me like some kind of satellite. Well, those are basically damage nullification orbs of a sort. Allow me to drop down a zombie here, who is then probably going to attack me, which I'm fine with if I actually put it on easy mode. So let me spawn one in. There we go. And each time he hits me, it does no damage if I have those orbs. If my orbs are not running around my body here, as you notice there, I did have no orbs and I was taking some damage. You'll see that I take no damage, and now I am taking damage. Well, that's kind of how this wand works, but I've got more company incoming that I'm going to have to deal with. Next, we're going to cover Evorcio. Evorcio has a couple different effects here. Allow me to see if I can find myself some trouble. Here we go. And I will actually spawn in a few friends with him. Now, if I attack and actually kill one of them with an axe, let's see if I can hit this one guy, I will deal a percentage of his max health to nearby mobs. So you saw those red particle effects on them when I hit them. I was dealing that extra damage to nearby mobs, therefore kind of turning my axe into an area of effect. It's any weapon, even if it's your bare hand. As long as you get a killing blow on a mob, it will deal a percentage of their max health to nearby mobs. Now on top of that, you have another option, and that is actually really, really good. And it's digging in a 5x5. It doesn't matter what pick you have. For instance, let me grab a wooden pick here, and I will mind this. It takes a little longer. Boop. But there we go, and it harvests all the materials. Now you should be made aware that if I do something like take a wooden pickaxe and break around here, you notice that the obsidian was broken because I was actually digging the stone, but I didn't get it. So you do have to have the right level tool in order to be able to obtain the harvest from it. And here we have Decidia. Decidia is a bit, difficult to show off. Basically, it will allow you to reflect damage in a way. So if something does damage to me, now keep in mind I'm wearing something that has diamond, almost diamond-like armor resistance, I can therefore deliver that damage back to the entity on the next hit. By jumping over here, getting this zombie's attention, allowing him to hit me, I then can reflect that damage back to him on the next hit. But as I'm only doing a very small amount of damage as it is, and he wasn't doing much damage to me, it's not a very great effect. But if you have something that's, well, basically, it's probably going to be players, giving you a lot of like one-shots or killing you very easily with just a few hits, then this is a really good way of reflecting that same damage right back at him, provided that you can hit them, of course. And now we have Evitus. Evitus has a very unique ability, and this Enderman has excellent timing. Let me try poking him, and you'll see that I'm getting hit, but my health is constantly regenerating. And in fact, my food is not going down either. Here, let's get rid of this leather. I don't even want that. You know what? I'll take you on with my bare hands. You know why? It's because of the Evitus. It gives a constant regen effect that is very strong. Now, yes, you can be one-shot killed. Yes, falling from large heights will be a big negative in that case. Here, let me get rid of these extra mobs here. As you can see, I'm not gaining any benefits from my offensive abilities with my Evitus, but it does make you very, very durable. Now, there is a downside to it, and I'm not going to show it because I'm in a snow biome here, but over time you will give a bone mealing effect around you to, just anything nearby, as well as a plant swapping ability. You might swap out grass for dead bushes or saplings even, so you might be growing trees around you as well over time. So you're going to want to be very careful about that. But at the very least, if you carry one of these things around with you, you can just put it on and give yourself that regen and the instant food boost. And next we have Lucerna. Lucerna is actually really, really cool. If you notice here, I've got a whole bunch of glowing sparkles on my screen. What this allows you to do is see mobs through objects. So kind of like the glowing effect, whether they be passive or aggressive, as well as spawners. If I bring one in here, place down a spawner down on the shelf below, you'll notice that I can see that in a red area. So anytime that you see a mob spawner, it'll probably show up in a much darker, redder contrast. And here we have Botees. Botees is extremely unique and can be beneficial, but also can have its downsides. But I do really like its just fun that it can have, and that is you will generate flares around you. As you can see here, I've got a flare, get out of here, creeper, that just kind of spawned in my area. Let me run over here and see if I can get the attention of this zombie. Now, yes, you can kill your flares, as I just did by accident there with my sword area effect. And if this guy hits me while the flares are nearby, they will start attacking him with little lightning bolts and just take him out real quick. Now, here's the downside, is that they will start pushing you around. I'm not moving just because they want to stay close to you. And therefore, if you try and swipe at something, you might accidentally kill one of the flares, as I did there, if not all of them, depending on the weapon that you have. So it's a bit of fun. They can push you around a bit, and it's definitely just kind of really cool to have your own little flare army going on there. All right, this next one is Fornax. Fornax is very dangerous, very destructive. You want to be sure that where you are is a safe spot, right? Like right now, I know I'm on grass. I know that that's a safe spot. So let me put this on here. Fornax allows you a measurability of immunity to fire, but you also will gain benefits from being on fire. So you will have that animation if you're on fire. Allow me to get a flint and steel here, and I'll just put this on my hotbar. I'm just going to dig up that snow, light that. I walk into it, and you see I don't take any damage. In fact, I'm gaining health. That's what happens. I gain regen. But if I'm standing on something like, let's say, stone, when that happens, let me run over here. If I'm standing on stone, whoa, get out of here, creeper. If I'm standing on stone, that is, while I'm on fire, I will turn it into lava. And therefore, I will start melting blocks while I'm on fire. So it is very, very dangerous thing if you're, currently running on, get on some grass. Oh, the ground is lava. That's basically what this equates to. So you have an infinite way of creating lava, but it is very awkward if you are currently, turning it into it in the process. So either you want to avoid fire or you want to, dive right in. It's definitely going to be a good thing for just kind of swimming around in the nether. That's for sure. Now this next one is very unique. It's similar to the Flare Army in a way, but it's also very, very different. Allow me to get rid of any weapons on my hotbar. In fact, I would like to grab myself, I've got a pick, and let me grab an axe. That will probably do things very nicely for me. I'll grab a wooden one. Now I currently am in creative mode, but you should still get the same idea. I'm going to go out into third person view, and if I start chopping away at this tree, you'll notice that there are little faint kind of axes running around chopping the tree for me at this point because I was using it as an axe to chop things, which is great. It's just really cool that it'll do that, and then I can pick up all the drops. So it's a way of just creating that, but that's not all. It does 3 things. That's only one of them. Another one, if I run over here and just start smacking this zombie, and you'll notice that over time I will start gaining these little sword entities flying around me, and they'll start attacking enemies for me as well. And last but definitely not least is going to be the pick. If I use a pick, it will randomly start harvesting blocks around me, whether they be dirt or stone, it doesn't matter. And it will be random. It might even mine stuff underneath you, so you're going to want to be a bit cautious with that. But it can be a very effective way of quickly decimating an area if you need to. Now this next one here, Mineralis, is a very special one that it's very unique. For instance, if I right-click and if I center-click and take a piece of stone, you'll notice that I will therefore start seeing the location of stone nearby. I throw that away. If I grab some piece of snow, it's going to even show me pieces of snow, even though I can't create it that way. Now, if I go down here and grab some dirt, it'll show me where dirt is, and this will work with valuable ores as well, and it'll go up to like 2, maybe 3 chunks away, so you can use this to find valuable materials nearby, or just use it to go mining in a much more effective manner. And this one here, Octans. Octans is very unique. You will need, I guess they're all very unique, but if I go into non-creative here, and I jump into this water, you'll notice that my air bubbles do not go down. And I actually have a very decent amount of movement in the water. So I'm not hindered at all. I can actually do normal mining underwater at the normal speed, so I don't require any kind of special stuff going on here. It's really convenient that I can therefore live underwater if I so desired. I know it's difficult to see, but just, there we go. There's a little bit of light so you can see a little bit better. My ability to just mine things with my hand, very quick and easy, and my movement around is very fast as well. So I can escape guys and basically just be a fish out of water. And the last one we have here is Horologium. Horologium it will create a time stop effect on nearby mobs and machines, which means like furnaces and such. And if they are attacking you, there's a chance that they will basically be frozen in time for a few seconds, allowing you to attack or evade or escape or whatever like that. Now, fire will not activate this, but other things should. For instance, I have this skeleton here. He's going to try attacking me. And you can see that the time stop happened right there, and everybody is frozen. Lightning bolts, and you get some stars in the area. It's really cool. It does take a bit to recharge before you can use it again. Of course, I was using it immediately after putting the cloak on, so you do have like about a 30-second to a minute cooldown, which is what I was having a problem with there. And if you look in your inventory, you can see that it actually has a visible cooldown on your armor as well before the next freezing effect can take place. And there we go. It even time stopped that guy in mid-blast. Whoa! There we go. That about does it for the mantles. Now, if you're curious about the next part, which is the wand attunement, it's much more interesting and can work coinciding with the Mantle of Stars as well as potentially other wands. So you remember your very first thing you made there, the attuned, or the resonating wand? You can use it further now, and in a very strong way. You've got many different options. You can even have up to 2 of them in, one in one hand, one in another, and use them together. So you'd think, all right, well, if I'm attuning my wand, I would therefore also need the same benefit of putting an attunement crystal in here, right? Wrong. You don't have to do that. You can skip that entirely. You can just go with this according to how you would like to attune it currently. And in this case, I'm just showing you the recipe for one of them to give you an example, and then I'm going to continue on with showing you each of the wands and their abilities. We're going to start off with the first wand that I have here is Armara. Now, I'm showing you a little bit of a top-down view because if I hold this, you'll see that I'm getting these blue particles all around my character. And that gives me 2 benefits. One, if it's in my offhand and I right-click, it will do the same thing. So either hand, it should function, which is a very strong thing. By default, people are like, oh, well, it functions like a shield. Let me run up here, spawn in a skeleton, and I will hold up my wand, and it does just like a shield, even gives the same sound. It will deflect projectiles, and so on. But if you are damaged by something more melee-oriented, get rid of that guy, place down a zombie, hold up my wand, it'll push him away, and if for some reason you are still damaged, and while you have your shield up, for instance, if I turn around, you'll notice that I now have resistance and absorption going on. So I get 4 hearts of that and a reduction in any further damage that I might take. On top of that, I also had my Armara Mantle of the Stars going on. So yeah. And yes, it works very good to hold this and then just quickly let go and swipe with your sword. If you get hit in the process, you'll gain your resistance and absorption benefits as well. So it's a really good combo, replacing a shield, making you more of a staff and sword Gandalf-y style fighter. And here we have Dissidia. Now Dissidia is a bit different. So you don't actually need to do anything with it. You just need to have it in one of your hands. I've got it in my offhand, so if I start swiping with my sword or punching with a fist, the more damage I do to a consecutive, or the more consecutive hits I do to an enemy, the better off I'll be. So let me pop down a zombie here, and I'll start punching him. You see I'm doing half-hearted damage right now, and I start doing more and more damage over time. You'll see I'm starting to do like half heart, then a whole heart, and so on. So it basically will up to, I believe, double your current damage. Using something as small as a zombie, it's difficult to do that without killing him in multiple hits for something that does a lot more damage than my fist. So I just wanted to demonstrate that, and you can therefore have that plus other wands in your hands if you wanted. Your Evorsio wand is going to allow you to be a better miner. And by that, I don't mean by someone of young age, I mean their ability to actually mine better. For example, That's just pretty much how it works. And over time, it will start recharging. So if you do it too quickly, you're not going to gain anything, but it will start grabbing large chunks of a similar area around you, allowing you to mine very quickly as well. So this is a really strong way of mining. Next one here is Evitus. Evitus is actually a really fun one. Allow me to better demonstrate by once again going into third-person view, and I'll just start jumping up. Whoa! Wait, what the heck? I was able to get out of there, but I'm floating. That's because this allows you to just kind of walk in the air. And you can also climb up by jumping up. You cannot go down unless you just kind of take it off your hand and you walk over the area. See, I had it in my right hand here, and I have it in my left hand. So either way, I'm still equipping it. Now, if I take it off and then I put on a sword, I will fall down and take damage, of course. The last one I have here is Vicio, which is very fun, but also very dangerous. I'm actually going to show it in combination with the Evitus wand so that I don't die. Now, to start with, if I use it, I can just hold it, and it winds back like a bow, and it will launch you a short distance. If you use it in the sky, like way up, it will launch you really far up. It goes better vertically than it does horizontally. Woo! Now, if I grab this other wand, I am now on a platform safe from fall damage. And that, my friends, pretty much concludes Astral Sorcery for the current moment. It is still being updated, and I expect to follow it up with some more videos still. At least one more, just giving some more tips and general stuff. But there will be further updates from what I understand, talking to the mod author, who is HellFirePvP. I recommend you thank him very much for a wonderful and excellent magical mod. And if you enjoyed this video and/or this video series, be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, spread the mischief to others and let them know about this content too. Until next time, folks, I'll see ya.